What's happening, YTBC? There's obviously a serious problem in terms of PEDs in the sport of boxing. And I think it's about time these government bodies, if they're actually serious in regards to the image of the actual sport to the outside consumers who are paying to actually witnessing two fighters go into the ring to perform at their very best in the hope that they have an outcome that's fair and just. But when you're having fighters who are taking performance-enhancing drugs, on a regular basis, it really taints the sport and brings the sport down to a really bad light. And I'm not really sure whether these governing bodies are actually interested in ensuring that the integrity of the sport is upheld. Far too many fighters in the sport are taking performance-enhancing drugs. Far too many that is necessary. In an ideal world, we will prefer to not have one single fighter taking performance-enhancing drug, but unfortunately, we're not in that situation. And fighters will always try to find ways to actually cut corners, to find an advantage in order to, get the trimmings of the wonderful life, get paid, and get the adulation of fans, which is not necessarily warranted or deserved. Povetkin is not the first fighter to be tested with PEDs. He will not be the last. There's a lot of fighters around the Eastern Bloc areas who are taking performance-enhancing drugs, and they're using bogus agencies to try and mask the fact that they're actually taking PEDs. Now, I'm not singling out all fighters from the Eastern Bloc, but it is a high proportion of fighters from that area who are taking these particular drugs. Now, does that mean that other fighters around the world are not taking the drugs? Of course they are. This is a sport full of, envy and a rush for power. And because of its unregulation and its freedom to do whatever he wants, we're going to always have these instances where we're going to be watching fights, and now we're always going to be wondering whether these two fighters are actually fighting clean, which is a bit of a shame because boxing is not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be, the best fighting the best. But I think we're now probably in a situation where it's the best fighting PED and the best. Well, this is the reality. So what are we going to do as fans? Are we going to be happy and sit up and, accept the fact that these particular fighters or this particular fighter is, happy to take PEDs? Or are we actually going to take a stand and say, look, we want to actually be sure that we as a paying public, before we actually, let go of our hard-earned money, we want to be sure that, these two fighters are actually doing everything they possibly can to ensure that they're actually clean, by showing evidence of their drug testing schedules, year-round drug testing activities, and ultimately try and rebuild the confidence of the paying public. For me, I'm not particularly interested in watching a Deontay Wilder versus Povetkin fight now. The luster is gone. It's totally pointless for Deontay Wilder to step in the ring with Povetkin. Subject to the fact that Povetkin's B sample has not been, the results haven't been actually published. So I will reserve judgment specifically on Povetkin in regards to whether he's guilty or not. But based on the evidence as it stands right now, there's a high probability that it will come through as positive in this instance. So I think the fight's gone. I think Deontay Wilder needs to go home. I think he needs to look for another opponent. It's pointless fighting this guy because even if the guy wins, the victory will be tainted, and it's not worth the situation as it is. It's not really worth it. So there we have it. I'm just waiting for the next one to actually test positive from that area. I'm really waiting because I will not be surprised. I'm not surprised, and it will happen again. These fighters and their management teams and their doctors think they're smart by taking all these, trying to dodge around the drug testing schedules as they currently are, which is not going to work because eventually you are going to get caught. And for me, it's no bravery There's no honor. You stand to gain nothing from that particular type of activity. So that's what I have to say about that. Good luck to Deontay Wilder. I hope you find a nice, decent opponent, and you go on to prove your greatness. Don't bother going to Russia. They're only gonna spike your drink, and then you come up dirty as well. That's what's gonna happen. Anyways, peace.